I first met Max Kerwin at the 2002 Moomba Festival. The Melbourne City Council had commissioned Craig Bellamy and myself to write a history of the festival for its 50th anniversary in 2005. It was a pretty daunting task. Max was one of our first points of call, as his story forms an important part of the Moomba history. Before embarking on the project, I didn't know that much about Max or even about water skiing. When I'd gone to Moomba as a child, I remember seeing speedboats roaring by, but after talking to Max, I came to realise just how much enthusiasm people had for the sport and just how important water skiing and indeed Max had been to the history of Moomba. Max had started the water skiing on the Yarra way back in the 1950s, when people thought that such a thing couldn't be done, and Max was one of the few people that have been involved with Moomba for all of its 50 years. We went to the Yarra River because we were told that is where we could find Max. There was a large crowd on the banks. The skiers and their boats were thundering down the Yarra. Max was up in the stands with his family and friends, some of whom were decked out in wetsuits. I was amazed by the popularity of the water skiing. I was told it had always been popular, but I found it unusual that high-powered motorboats were in the centre of a major city. Max told us about the difficulty of getting the boats on the Yarra in the first place.
I had a great and deeply felt desire to get water skiing onto the Yarra River in the heart of one of the greatest cities in the world, and it was to me the greatest amphitheatre to demonstrate such a sport that you could find. To do so, however, I had a serious problem, the problem being that the speed limit on the Yarra River was 5 miles per hour. So I was told the only way I could change that speed limit would be to get hold of every member of what was then the Metropolitan Board of Works members and take them individually for a ride in my boat at a higher speed to show them that the wash that was created at 30 miles per hour was considerably less than that at 5 miles per hour and would in effect be much less dangerous towards damaging the banks of the river. So that was the task, to take them out and convince them, which I managed to do, but it took one whole year to do that, and each time I took 4 of them for a ride in my boat and demonstrated the difference in the two speeds. They agreed with me that 30 miles per hour was much less hazardous for the banks of the river than 5 mile an hour was.
The story of starting water skiing on the Yarra is one of Max's favourites. He told this story of the doubting Thomases of the Board of Works on a number of occasions. Max was the driving force behind the first Australian Water Ski Championship in 1958, which was a precursor of the Moomba Masters, which continues to this day. As a 23-year-old, I found it hard to imagine a 50-year history of water skiing on the Yarra, but perhaps even Max in the mid-1950s may not have realised that water skiing was to become one of the longest-lived events at the Moomba Festival. Nevertheless, it's hard to fault Max's perseverance considering the festival's current incarnation as the Moomba Waterfest.